Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, students. Yesterday we studied about the story Lingkaun Gorge, and we are going to resume the same story from the next paragraph. Yesterday we studied about the Lingkaun Gorge, the valley, and the writer depicted the severe and terrible weather conditions that were really unbearable, and what was the feeling of the writer when he went there, and what did he feel, and how did he describe the whole valley and the people living there, specifically the poor strong family who was trying to survive in that valley. So let's begin from the paragraph today. Hungry, cold, I tripped. Hungry, cold, I tripped. Tripped means the writer got stumbled. The writer got staggered. Staggered, staggered, and fell, scraping my hands. The writer started rubbing his hands and then said, "Enough, I would find some place now under some cliff." And he wanted to rest a few hours. If I reached the materials depot tomorrow morning by 10 o'clock, that would not be too late. Stumbling around in the dark like this, I was liable to fall into some deep ravine. Ravine means the same kind of dangerous gorge, and that would be the end of his material department chief. I would have to be put on the used up list. Underline the expression used up here. The used up means that the dead ones, from the dead ones. What does the writer want to describe? Here basically, first of all, the writer describes the severe weather conditions, and you can find the answer of question number 1 as well. Go to the exercise and read question number 1. The writer says that the terrible weather condition, it was very much severe. The pieces of the snow, they were continuously falling due to mist and haze, and due to the darkness at that time, and the heavy wind and gale, and the cold weather. It made writer very much hungry, cold, and then the writer fell down, and then he rubbed his hands, and the writer felt that he may not be able to move further towards the valley. So after that, the writer describes the physical conditions, that as he was feeling hungry and cold and very much tired, and he got stumbled as well, and that was the reason that the writer, it seemed that the writer did not or could not develop courage to move further towards the destination, and now he was looking for some place under some cliff, because he was afraid that if he tried to move ahead towards that mountain, that ravine, that gorge, he may not fall into that valley, and he fears that he would be found dead. And that you can observe that a common man, though the writer being the chief of the department, it was his prime duty to reach towards that destination, but in spite of being a chief of that area, we can observe that being a common man, the writer could not develop courage and stamina to reach in such kind of weather, terrible weather condition. He lost his physical strength and power and stamina. So we can learn from this passage that though the people, the family which was living there, that those people were not common. They were very much strong ones. So, moving towards the next paragraph, I noticed a path leading to a cave in the cliff. A door curtain hanging in the entranceway showed that the cave was undoubtedly occupied by the workers. I hauled myself up to the door and entered. Hauled means dragged, means the writer is trying to push himself, to motivate himself. He was so much tired. Strange, seated on a small stool in the doorway was a little boy, 7 or 8 years old, elbows on his knees, sporting his face in his hands. His cheeks were red with cold. He had been peering at the opposite cliffside through a rent. Rent here means underline hole in the curtain. And the writer enters. So let's begin. You can find half of the part of question number 5. The answer is there here, hidden answer is hidden, but half of the part you would find the answer. So the writer describes in this paragraph the description of a small boy, that he observes that the boy, he says that the boy seemed very much responsible. How can we guess? Because he was sitting on a small stool and continued sitting there, and he started observing not only the writer when he entered there, because the writer was a stranger for him, but he also kept observing everything by looking out from the hole of the curtain. And it seemed that he was an intelligent boy as well. He was almost 7 or 8 years old. But one thing that we feel very sorry for the boy when we look at the expressions that he was he might have been eagerly waiting for the parents to come back to the cave, to home. So this is the description of the boy. But one thing is very much very much, you can say, that impressive and commendable regarding the small boy of 7 or 8 years, that he was sitting on the stool and elbows, we can observe that, on his knees. What a beautiful expression by the writer. So the next paragraph also describes the cave. The cave was large but quite warm. It had a stove, eating utensils, and on the wall were some colored new pictures, and all the walls had been papered with newspaper. So let's begin the description of the cave. This cave basically was where the boy was sitting. The cave was, you can have a separate question regarding the character sketch of the boy as well. Though this is not given in the exercise, but you need to prepare it as well, because we can say that this small boy is the major character in the story. And the description of the cave. Cave was large but quite warm, and we can observe that there were some pictures of the children there, and that the walls were papered, but the walls got blackened due to the smoke of the stove, and we can find some eating utensils there. So this cave basically represents their home, or we can observe that how much tough and hard kind of time and life they were spending, the family, poor family was spending there. They made this cave their home, and they tried to give this cave the a complete look, complete picture like a home, by as we can say that the papered walls and pictures of the children, they were there, and curtains as well, though they were torn out, but some utensils and everything. So we need to get a lesson from the story, from this description, or from the description of the character, from the description of these places, that enjoying luxuries in life is not significant. What is more important and by need to be significant and prime for a human being specifically to lead to lead a successful life. They need to be very much hardworking. They need to spend life with determination and consistency as the family was enjoying. So moving ahead towards the next paragraph, when the writer observes that the boy was sitting there, what did he ask? The writer says, "Why isn't anybody home?" I asked, shaking the snow from my coat and hat. The little boy turned his head. His eyes flashed. "Aren't anybody, uncle?" He rose and walked towards me, his hands behind his back, his chest extended as if to say, "Not only am I somebody, I am a grown up somebody." "You are a pretty sharp young imp." Imp means a naughty boy. He pushed my hands aside and his head to one side, and he demanded, "Who are you calling imp?" "I have a name," pointing at the baby girl asleep on the bed. He informed me, "Her name is Pao Ching. Mine is Cheng Yu." We can observe that the life of the cave, it was very much a hard life without luxuries. Survival seems hard, and it means they were living hand to mouth without having basic facilities. But due to the through devotion, unity and hard work, we can observe that the family was living in an honorable life with pride and confidence. How can we say that they were very much honorable and feeling pride and confident? From the explanation of the passage that I read here, you would observe that the boy is very much confident. Now look at the boy's response when the writer asks that, "Is there anybody home?" And the writer calls him imp. Imp means a naughty boy. The beautiful expression given by the writer, I really liked it. You can observe that children, what I feel, students, that the children should be assigned responsibilities by the parents, as he was a 7 or 8 years old boy, but very much responsible. You look at the expression that his chest extended and his hands behind his back, and he was taking care of the sister, and he disliked the expression of or he seemed annoyed by when the writer called him imp or naughty boy, and he did not give any good gesture to the writer. It means that poverty teaches you a lot. And what a mature expression by the small boy given to the writer. He seemed very fearless and bold. This is bold, not bold, okay? B-O-L-D, bold. The boy seemed fearless, bold, confident, responsible. When you treat, this is from this paragraph we can have a message specifically for the parents, that when you train your children to or when you assign your children some responsibilities, or when you train them in a way as the boy got trained by his parents, you do not need to be worried that the children would face any kind of hard time or in their life. How much responsible attitude he has shown, and the beautiful expression by the writer that he has. I told you that he used some technique, that the writer got famous due to his technique of the presentation of the dialogues of the characters. Beautiful dialogues, beautiful expression by the writer, the chest extended and the hands behind his back. So you can also get the lesson from the personality of the boy. So what happened then, and what did the writer do when he faced such a hard attitude, you can say, a cold attitude from the boy? Then the writer says that, "I sat by the stove, smoking and rubbing my hands because that it was very much cold at that time. And the writer says, Cheng Yu crawled onto my lap and looked into my eyes. Is it going to be snow tomorrow, uncle? Why do you want to know about the snow, Cheng Yu? I asked him. Is it because you can't go out and play when it is snowing? He didn't even bother to look at me. Papa says if it is still snowing tomorrow, we will have to quit work. Look here. It means, what does it mean? It means that the writer wanted to know, or the writer thought that the boy is asking about the weather conditions of regarding tomorrow, whether there will be snow or not. The writer felt that he might have got bored by continuously sitting there and taking responsibility of the sister, and he wanted to play. But that was not the situation. It means that the poverty teaches you a lot, and you get mature. Even the small boy we can observe that he got so much mature that he is aware of all the troubles of the parents and his family. On the one hand, we can say that he is ready to sacrifice for his family, though we can say that he wants to enjoy the obviously his childhood. He wants to play. It can be, but we can observe that being a responsible child, as he daily performs his duty of taking care of his sister, and he is ready to sacrifice. And he also, the most important thing, what I feel here the writer wants to present, that he wishes to spend his time, his precious time, with his parents, and he wants his parents to be with him, and because he feels alone all the time, sitting on the stool and observing outside and looking outside towards the place where his parents were working. So some pathos are felt, means we feel sorry for the little child, but we feel happy that we want every child to be responsible, to get mature, though even but enjoy his childhood as well. So the next paragraph starts from, what does Papa do? The writer asks here. Here you can find the answer of question number 3 as well. The writer says, what does your Papa do? He opens up mountains, the child replied proudly. This is the expression that they feel in spite of being poor, or leading a miserable, poor life in those slum areas, in the hard areas. They feel very proud on the task they perform. I looked. All I could see was a searchlight beam, lights shining through the drifting snowflake. And then the writer says that he asked the icy snow. The writer, what did the writer do? That the writer, he says that the icy snow melted from my boots and my numbed legs. Means it was too much cold weather there. That numbed means feeling less. The writer couldn't feel anything due to that there's too much cold weather. And the writer says that I stamped to help the circulation, but Cheng Yu waved his hands warningly. I understood. He was afraid I would wake his baby sister. You really take good care of your sister, I commended. Mama says my job is to look after her. When Mama comes home, I can knock off. Knock off is a phrasal verb. It means that then I will leave my work. Then I will get free. So you are on the job every day. I hugged him. What does Mama do? He pointed towards a person standing by a telephone pole beside the road, covered with snow. She looked like a white stone image. The road, not very wide, had been blasted through the rock, and mules and donkeys and the people, they were moving on that road. So let's explain the question number 3. This paragraph, question number 3, basically describes the unity of family members, that in spite not only the father and the mother, but the small boy is also very much cooperative towards the parents, and if he had not taken care of his sister, then the situation could have been very much difficult for the parents. So he tells the writer that his father drills up the mountains very proudly, he tells, and his mother is a traffic controller, and there are not only the people, but on that narrow road some animals, donkeys, mules, and along with people, they also travel there. So this was a job of the mother as well, and we can observe that he takes care of his sister. And what is his duty? He takes care of his sister because it was the order of the mother as well, and with commitment we can observe that the message that we get from this passage, from this question, that through commitment, support, and by making money through your support and your commitment, consistency, through the determination, you can make money to survive. You can survive in any kind of terrible and pathetic condition. Obviously, because you know that Rolling Stone and or that family believes that Rolling Stone gathers no moss. That is why they kept living there for a long time, and they enjoyed performing their duties. Every character is performing his duties honestly, and all of them showed commitment, support, and encouragement and cooperation towards each other. That was the reason that the writer feels very much happy and is having appreciation for the family, that such kind of strong people can only live there. So after that, when he told about his mother, what did the writer observe? The next paragraph about the mother, when the writer says that the paragraph starts, but there she stood, and there she would remain 3 months, 5 months, 3 years, 5 years, if needed be. Perhaps from time to time she raised her head to gaze up at her child or her husband, who was working in the mountains. When he paused, means when her husband paused to wipe the sweat from his face, from his brow, could he see the determined figure of his wife or the tiny image of his little boy? I was sure they could feel a mutual loving encouragement and sense that each was looking forward to the moment of family reunion. A beautiful expression. Here the most important is the character of the mother. Though all of the characters, they are very much important, because without being united, or without the unity of every character that was important, no one can survive, but the mother's character is more important here, because she seemed a determined figure who kept the writer observes that who kept standing there in spite of a lot of snow, and she was completely covered from head to toe, but she kept standing there performing the duties. She seemed courageous, an exemplary character, and the most important, that she was a very good trainer as well, and highly dutiful trainer, in a sense that she trained her son in a way that he kept sitting there, looking, taking care of not only his sister, but looking and observing to the situation where the parents were working. It means that everyone, specifically the mother, was working harder for the family reunion, because it was not her responsibility to do the job. She could have spent the writer says that she could have spent time with the children, with the little boy and the girl, or she could have lived in that cave peacefully, specifically in that condition. But sacrification of the mothers, it shows that for the family, the elderly person specifically, they need to be determined, they need to be consistent, they need to be good trainer and responsible if they want their family members to be responsible and exemplary in future as well. So moving to the next paragraph, I glanced at Cheng Yu. The child had placed his hands in his sleeves and pulled his neck into his collar. Why did he pulled his neck into his collar? Because it was very much cold. He wanted to cover himself. He kept dozing off. Dozing off means that he was feeling sleepy. Obviously, it was the cold weather, and that was the need of that time. And he was a small boy. The writer says, "You are liable to catch a hill, so it's better go to the bed and go to sleep." He looked at me, and he rubbed his eyes with his fist. "Papa and Mama say a man should never leave his post." This was the changing, you can say, the most significant dialogue when the writer observes that what should he do, and the writer decides that what should he do and decide now. Here you can find some of the part of the question number 3 and 9. You can find the answer. Papa and Mama say a man should never leave his post. It is post here. This is the message of the story as well, that through motivation, hard work, determination, being consistent towards the duties, having the sense of great responsibilities, being highly responsible, by showing cooperation, encouragement towards the family members, you can turn the tables, you can change the situation, you can face any kind of terrible situation, terrible circumstances, because the time gets past. But what is important, you need to be motivated, you need to be determined, you need to be patient, and the time goes by slowly. The same was the case with the family, that when the writer got really impressed, and the writer feels really appreciable, and the writer says that it is really appreciable and commendable for the specifically for the boy, that he is so much responsible, that he, in spite being 7 or 8 years old child, he has still in his mind the dialogue, the instruction, the message of the mother, that one should never leave his post. So what did the writer decide after that, and what was the step taken by the writer when he heard the dialogue? So this is the last paragraph of the story. I hugged him tightly and pressed my cheek against his. Then I rose, buttoned up my coat, pulled my hat down firmly, left the cave, and walked down the path. Following the road, I pushed on, the words of the child echoing in my head. What was the sentence? What were the words? A man should never leave his post. A man should never leave his post. I wanted to reach my destination without any further delay. Now, this was the decision made by the writer. As we studied from the beginning, that the writer was new or a new person who has come to this valley, or this valley was a strange kind of place for the writer. So the writer, due to that cold weather, got tired, but and he decided to take a rest for a while in that cave. But the writer, in spite though he was tired, despite being tired, he got motivated by the determination of not only each individual, but specifically by the dialogue of the small boy, and he finally takes the decision, and he takes his destination as well, in spite being tired, hungry, and due to the worst conditions. He says that I wanted to reach. Wanted here means that he wished. Now he developed a wish that he has to, being the chief of the department, he has to reach towards destination without any further delay. A beautiful expression, without further delay. It means that the writer got so much motivated that he couldn't, he did not want to waste his time. Rather, he wanted to reach even that at that dusk time, evening time, in that severe and terrible weather condition, a frightening weather condition. So this is the message that the writer wants the readers to develop: this motivation, this determination, this consistency to lead a successful life. So this is the end of the story, and question number 4, you can find the answer as well. We can learn the lesson here that we should not get afraid of any kind of situation. Rather, what is important: to be determined, to be consistent, to not only to develop encouragement in yourself, but to motivate and to encourage the other people as well, who are related with you, who share the responsibility of the family. And this is the key that the writer wants every reader to enjoy. So this is the end of the lesson. So I would send you the assignments, and after doing assignments, your attendance will be marked. Thank you, and Allah Hafiz.